welcome you back to our daily Bible study. I am your host, Dr. Derek A. Reeves, and we're going to continue on in the 8th Bible study that we are now currently into, and it's entitled Understanding Fear. We are now on part 6, or part 5, the 6th installment of the series, but part 5 dealing with terms for fear. Remember, this is what we call a definitive study, where we are studying terms that come from the scripture, both the old and the new, to find the ramifications and the context in which it deals with fear. So let's deal with our next term. The term is again from the Hebrew, the word yagor. And so it comes from a primitive root to fear or be afraid. It's very interesting. It occurs a total of 5 times in the King James, and it's very explicit when it deals with, in the kal sense, to fear, dread, or to be afraid. And so it's, in this sense, a term that is a verb, and so it is an action of the heart and of the mind. If we were to take it a little further, and we go into the ancient Hebrew, the term deals with fear. And there is a pictograph that talks about the foot, and it means to walk to and fro. And so it is a man, and it's combined with the ideal, again, of strangers. And so it comes from this terminology, dealing with strangers, being in a place where strangers are. And I believe we covered this a lot earlier. And so the term, again, is associated with being in a strange place, being where strangers are, who are seen as your enemies and who sees you as an enemy. And so, again, it is a traveler in a strange land who doesn't understand or know if they are safe from the inhabitants of that land. If we were to go just a little further, it means to fear, to be afraid, and again, it is a common verb, and it refers to a general sense of feeling vulnerable. And so this type of fear is a type of fear that moves one into a sense of being weak. It is a type of fear where one takes an assessment of themselves, and they feel like they're not adequate or up to the task. Therefore, they are vulnerable. They cannot fulfill the objective. They're not strong enough to lift the burden or to take on any new things to achieve. And so it brings about an apprehension. It brings about a feeling of ineptness. And therefore, as you are performing, it's as if you have no help and you're standing by your own self, trying to forge a way, but not knowing who is for you or who is against you. And so we're going to go a little further, because the next term is also a Hebrew word, and this Hebrew word literally comes from the term, or I should say it is the term, yare. Yare means to fear, and it deals with morally to revere, causatively to be frightened or affright. And so 2 of the major meanings of yare, the first one is that you have moral reverence. Because of the personage and because of the greatness or the stature of an individual, there is a mutual respect. And that respect moves you to adhere to things that do not infringe upon their liberties or infringe upon them as to who and what they are. And so the second term, the causative term, is to frighten or put someone affright. And so again, it can deal with having a great respect, or because of the stature and the behavior patterns that one activates in, bringing you to a state where you are very much afraid. If we look at the terminology again, it means to fear, revere, or be afraid, to stand in awe of, or be awed if you are the one that's invoking fear. And it can deal with having a great honor and respect for one. And then it can also mean being in dread of something. So you can have such a respect that you are astonished at someone's outcome, their results, their capacity to do. And so you hold them in awe. The ancient Hebrew term for it, again, it's a pictograph and it deals with to throw. And so this pictograph is a picture of a hand and it is a picture of a man. Combine these, it means the hand of a man. And so the hand of a man is used for the throwing, a flowing of water in a river, a throwing of the finger to show a direction, to walk or to live. And so the throwing of an arrow, the throwing down of water in rain, it represents awe or fear, where one throws the self to the foot of one's authority or one in authority. And so, again, this terminology, it can indicate something very, very important because it indicates that a person has either reverence or fear to the point where they surrender everything that they are. They surrender their person. They surrender their being. And so more than likely their mind is in subjection. And so they are surrendering everything that an individual has, surrendering everything that they are, and throwing themselves down at the very foot of an individual, signaling, I give up, signaling, there's no use to fight. And so, again, it is a verb meaning to fear, to respect, to reverence, to be afraid, or to be awesome, wherein you invoke great reverence. And so it can deal with to make one afraid. And so the most common translations of this term is to fear, like to fear God, where the beginning of wisdom is the godly reverential fear, where we respect him because of who and what he is. I want to go to the next word. We have to try to move along because if we don't, we'll be here for a while with 30-some definitions. And so we're going to go to the next definition, and it's a very interesting definition because the word is pronounced the same way and the word is spelled the same way. And so the term again is yare. This number, however, is considered as 3373. If you look it up in your Strongs, the other number was 3372. And so this term deals with fearing morally, being reverent, being afraid fully of something. And so again, you see the reverential fear, you see the fright because of one's functionality. And so again, being fearful, reverentially afraid. And if we take this back to the ancient Hebrew as well, it still is the same terminology, but another form of the word. And it deals with to throw and the picture of the hand. So it's like the throwing down of water. But in its entirety, it means to throw oneself at the feet of another. If we take it a little further, it can be an adjective, which means fearing or being afraid. And so again, it's used when the author of Genesis speaks of Abraham fearing God because he did not hold back his only son. And so both terms, yare, whether it is the definitive term 3372 or 3373, it is throwing oneself at one's feet, either because one respects one greatly and pays homage and honor to them, or because the presence of an individual has invoked a great fear and terror. We are out of time. I am your host, Dr. Derek A. Reeves, and this has been our daily Bible study. Join us next time. And remember, Jesus is Lord, And when he comes back, every eye shall see him.